This is a Gear Network production.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Mr. Perez, and you're listening to the Better Live Than Dead podcast, brought to you exclusively on Gear Network. Listen in.
How is it going, everybody? Hi. Welcome to Better Live Than Dead podcast, number 69.
Number 69, my favorite number, people.
Nice.
69.
Nice. I am Ryan Wolf, at Wolf BLTD on Twitter. Joining me on the phone, Mr. Perez, at MRLG Perez on the tweet bots.
You know what? Let me clarify real quick. I know a lot of people just heard me say that 69 is my favorite number, and they're probably having really dirty thoughts go through their mind. Stop it. It's my favorite number because my zodiac sign is a Cancer, and if you look at the Cancer sign, it looks like 69, so that's why it's my favorite number. And if
I
you
just
believe that, you're an idiot.
I hear nothing but excuses, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's not really why that's my favorite number. But anyway, I digress.
You had us there. You had us there for a second, but no one's buying that, Lewis. How you doing? How you doing this week?
You know what? I'm good, man. I'm really good. Thank you.
It's only been a couple days since we last talked, but the new schedule kicked in.
Doing?
I'm doing well. The new schedule kicked in. I worked one day because I have a Monday and then I have Tuesday off, and then I'll work tomorrow. I have Thursday off. Work Friday, Saturday. I have Sunday off. And that's probably when I'll start to get into the thick of things. But, I mean, work isn't bad. It was not too bad yesterday.
Good.
Spent a lot of time killing time while talking to people because that's really what the job is all about, fixing problems and killing time. But, you know, it's wonderful. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Good. And that's what matters, that you like your job.
Exactly. Because the last job I didn't like very much. So.
Right. I love both my jobs.
We've discussed that, and I'm very happy you still love your jobs because that's, in this day and age, when you have to work just to get by, you know, it's good to at least enjoy what you're doing.
Right. And, you know, like right now, like we were talking about earlier, I just got done doing a couple of training in some of my AT&T stores, and I had to drive 2.5 hours to get to the stores that I had to train today. So I'm driving back from Watertown, which a lot of people will say, that's a long drive. That's got to suck. But you know what? Like, I love my job, and right now we're discussing sports. I'm smoking a cigar, and I'm getting paid for the drive. So
I was just about to say, as long as you're getting paid, it don't matter what you're doing.
Well, I mean, the mileage alone for today will be like an extra $170.
That's gorgeous. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Good day at the office.
Whatever. Exactly.
So I want to get started off with some college football. We can talk a little more at the end of the podcast if you like. I just want to get into the sports part because I have been getting better. I've been getting a little healthier, but today for some reason my voice seems a little raspy. It just doesn't feel too well. So I figure if we get the important talking out of the way first, if I lose my voice towards the end of the podcast, it won't be so bad.
Okay, sounds good.
So there's been no confirmed news yet, but a lot of speculation, a lot of reports out of Louisiana that Les Miles is going to be fired. Or less fired, more bought out. Okay. It's fascinating to me because the Boosters reportedly already have $15 of the $20 million buyout ready to go. They need to get the other 5, but they want Les Miles out, which is crazy to me because in his time with LSU, which he's been there since 2005, he's gone 110-32. While they started off very well this season, we're as high as number 2 in the country. They've fallen on hard times. They're now 7-3. But you know what? If they want to fire Les Miles, I'm sure someone in the NCAA will gladly hire him, and they will be getting a very, very, very good college football head coach.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I get it. You're 7-3, so you're out of the playoff picture. You're not going to win the national championship this year, but you're still 7-3. You know, you still have an awesome football coach, and you still recruit really good talent. So the get rid of one of the better coaches in the NCAA is just ridiculous.
And they've always been a perennial. They've always been a perennial contender too. I mean, they've fallen, like I said, they've fallen on hard times lately, but they've always been up there and always been challenging. I mean, the problem. A lot of people said the problem is LSU is mad at Les Miles because he's not Nick Saban, and that's not fair to Les Miles.
No, that's not fair at all.
But he'll take the $20 million buyout and go somewhere else and build another powerhouse.
Well, yeah, dude, listen. If my job came to me and said, hey, listen, here's the deal. We want to go in a different direction. Here's your $20 million. I'm like, bye. Adios.
Not mad about it.
No. I'll take that $20 million to go on vacation.
Now I want to move over to NASCAR. We mentioned last week. This weekend, or last Sunday actually, was the final race of the season at Homestead Miami Speedway. The NASCAR crowned a new Sprint Cup champion. I can't talk apparently. And the winner of the championship was Kyle Busch. He also won the race. Kevin Harvick finished second. He finished one spot below the champion. And it's crazy. The reason I point that out, obviously you already know that, but the reason I point that out is because it's just fascinating to me that it's hard to repeat as a champion, and he finished, I believe it was, second place 44 times, or 44% of the season. He finished second. So he had a fantastic season, did almost everything he could to possibly win the championship aside from winning the final race. But this is what NASCAR wanted. The last two seasons, you've had to win the race to win the championship. That's what NASCAR wanted. That's why they did this. And the crazy thing about Kyle Busch, which I believe he's 30, he missed the first 11 races of this season, as we discussed previously a long time ago. He suffered that horrific crash, suffered a broken leg and a broken foot in that horrific crash at Daytona back in February. And he missed, like I said, missed the first 11 races, came back, and just completely dominated. Raced his way back into the chase. He had to be in the top 30 because if you win a race, you're in the chase. But he had to win a race and be in the top 30 after missing the first 11 races. So he's had to put some good races together to get in the chase. Then he gets in the chase and gets his way to the championship round and wins the championship. And he had a phenomenal car on Sunday. And I know a lot of NASCAR fans didn't want to see Kyle Busch win the championship for a myriad of different reasons, but it's a great story. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who my favorite driver is or who your favorite driver is. It just matters that it's a great story. It's very enjoyable to watch and see how it worked out.
And the crazy thing about that race is actually Kyle Busch, with 10 laps to go, was actually in third place. And then they brought out a caution flag, and the cars actually went around the track twice on the caution flag, and then a bunch of people decided to pit. So when they came out from the pit, you had 1, 2, 3, 4 stacked up with each other. And when the pace car got off the track and everyone took off, dude, Kyle Busch's car left everybody in the dust, which is crazy to think about because they're all tuned and built so exactly to each other that he was able to get that much extra from his car. Because, I mean, like with 2 laps to go, he was up on second place by quite a good distance.
It's all just about making the right adjustments and just having the best setup, and they did that, and they did exactly what they had to do, and it was interesting. It was fun to watch. I mean, like I said, I'm a Harvick fan, so I was hoping he would have won, but you can't win it every year. But like I said, at least it's a good story, and congratulations to Kyle Busch and the 18 team for sure. One last thing on NASCAR before we move on to some soccer news: Jeff Gordon goes out after his 797th career race. He finished 6th in the race, 3rd in the championship. It's going to be weird in February seeing the 24 on the track and not seeing Jeff Gordon behind the wheel, but Chase Elliott will be behind the wheel, which is Bill Elliott's son, NASCAR legend Bill Elliott. I think NASCAR Hall of Famer as well, Bill Elliott.
Right.
That'll be fun to watch, but it's NASCAR is taking a kind of a turn towards the future now. Tony Stewart's retiring after next season. Earnhardt Jr. mentioned he was going to retire in the next couple of years. Jimmy Johnson has hinted at retirement in the next couple of years. So a lot of NASCAR's big stars are getting ready to take a step off and into the future. There's a lot of great young drivers, but it'll be interesting to see who fills those voids when NASCAR does go to a complete youth movement.
Yeah, I figured I'd watch the last several laps of the race just to know what had happened, because I figured we'd be talking about it.
It's a good idea.
I don't watch NASCAR, but I will say the last 10 laps after the caution for the breeze on the track was actually pretty exciting.
Usually what I do is I'm like a hawk where I'll watch Daytona 500 because it's just fun to watch. It's usually action-packed, a lot of accidents, crazy stuff happens. But usually I'll keep an eye on Twitter every Sunday, and if I see, Harvick's in the top 5 with a couple laps to go or top 2 or leading the race, I'll turn it on just to watch it. Because
does Harvick drive the Target car?
Harvick drives the Budweiser car.
Oh, he drives the Budweiser car, okay. Who drives the Target car?
Kyle Larson.
Because he was in second place, creeping up on first.
Yep.
Forever
He had
until
a fantastic
the
car.
play. Yeah.
Still has yet to win a race, but he's one of those guys, one of those young drivers that can really be a part of that big youth movement we were talking about. NASCAR will be back in February. We'll talk about Daytona 500 when it rolls up. But for now, we're going to move over to soccer. Major League Soccer. The first round of the semifinals, the conference finals, took place on Sunday. Columbus Crew defeated the New York Red Bulls 2-0 in the first leg, and the Portland Timbers defeated FC Dallas 3-1 in the first leg. This Sunday, FC Dallas takes on the Portland Timbers in Portland, and the New York Red Bulls take on the Columbus Crew in Columbus. Now, for those of you who don't know how aggregate goals work, FC Dallas, if FC Dallas wins the game on Sunday, they have to score 3 more goals than Portland scores to actually win. That's how aggregate works in aggregate scoring works in soccer. Same with the Red Bulls in Columbus. If the Red Bulls win the game, they have to score more goals than Columbus, or 2 more goals than Columbus scores in the game to move on. So certainly things right now are looking good for not only Portland, but Columbus heading into Sunday. And we'll have more on that as it rolls around, plus we'll have some more on the MLS Championship, the MLS Finals coming up. And I have to make mention of this, Lewis. Moving over to the English Premier League. Leicester City, the Foxes, my favorite team right now, top of the table. It's almost Thanksgiving. 13 games played, 28 points, 8-4-1 record. They lead Manchester United by 1 point, Manchester City and Arsenal by 2 points, respectively. And it just so happens that this Saturday at 12:30 p.m., heads to Manchester United for what promises to be a very, very action-packed game. Last year, Leicester City improbably defeated Manchester United. So we'll see how it goes this year. But like I said, I apologize. It's Leicester City hosting Manchester United. They last played January of this year, where Manchester United won, but the game before that, Leicester City, Manchester United, in, like I said, improbable fashion. Going to be a great game to watch. I believe it's on NBC, so everybody can catch it. But I'll be damned if Leicester City isn't playing phenomenal soccer right now.
They are. That actually should be a really good game. Hey, didn't Leicester City last season go into relegation?
They were headed at Christmas. They were dead last in the EPL table, and then they pulled off an improbable comeback. They were the first team in history of the EPL to be last in the table on Christmas and avoid relegation.
That's right. Okay, they did avoid it.
Ever since then, they've been absolutely untouchable.
Good.
It's fun to watch, and I'm really mad because I wanted to buy a Jamie Vardy Leicester City kit this week, and for some reason the website will not let me buy it. But if I buy it in England, it's only like $113 after the whatever the word is. We're switching pounds to dollars. It's only $113. But if I buy it from WorldSoccerShop.com in America, it's like $185. So I'm trying to buy it. Yeah, I'm trying to buy it directly from England, but the conversion, I don't know what the hell the problem is. I want to move over.
That's quite a difference.
Yeah, $75 or so. So I'd like to, save the $75 if I can. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that as it develops, because I'm still working on getting a hold of someone over in England to assist me in the purchasing process. If not, I have a friend there. Maybe I could PayPal her some money and she could buy it for me and mail it to me. I don't know.
There you go.
Moving over to Major League Baseball, no big free agent news yet. Things are still very quiet. I'm assuming with the winter meetings, I don't think the winter meetings have happened yet, but usually things heat up at the winter meetings. Nothing's happened right now. I'm expecting the next couple weeks for things to heat up. But two big news stories out of baseball this week. First off, the Los Angeles Dodgers have named Padres bench coach Dave Roberts as their new manager. Now, Yankee fans, Red Sox fans know Dave Roberts very well. He is the man behind the steal in the 2004 ALCS that is believed to have turned the tide, if you will, in the improbable comeback the Red Sox had over the Yankees. So he's very well known around the baseball world, and he'll be known forever in baseball history as that guy. But it's amazing to see him work his way up through the system and get to be the manager of such a talented team. So hopefully he can really pull things together there in Los Angeles, because we saw last year, Lewis, it was not good. I mean, there were times where, players were speaking out, mad about stuff, and then things weren't working, and then the Dodgers came together and ended up losing to the Cubs in the playoffs, which led to Don Mattingly's firing / quitting, whatever you want to call it. Mutual agreement to part ways or whatever it may be. But it's crazy, too, that this job was between two ex-Boston Red Sox, Gabe Kapler, who's been working in the farm as a farm director, I believe, and Dave Roberts, obviously, from the Padres. But I'm very happy for Dave Roberts. It should be a fantastic job for him. We've already heard some rumblings that maybe the Dodgers need to get rid of Yasiel Puig, so there's already some rumblings in that locker room that he's going to have to come through and have an iron fist. But I have a feeling like Dave Roberts may be a player's manager, which certainly can't hurt them, but you just have to avoid a situation like in Washington, where Matt Williams was a player's manager and then lost the players and then lost his job because he just didn't know what he was doing. So we'll keep an eye on it, as we always do. But again, congratulations to Dave Roberts, and an awesome job for an awesome dude.
Yeah, he's inheriting a team with a lot of young talent. See if he can add some good veterans. See what he does there.
Now, the other news story that broke this week, and I'm going to get your 2 cents on this one, because you have experience with this gentleman. Seattle Mariners second baseman Robinson Cano reportedly wants out of Seattle. With the changes in the front office, the way things have been going lately, he's not happy with the direction of the franchise. Now, in 2 years with Seattle, he's played 313 games. He's batting .300. He's got 35 home runs, 161 RBIs. His numbers have dipped a little from New York, but obviously with the lack of guys on base, because it is Seattle. They're not a great baseball team, but I mean, everything in terms of, this year he had a down year. It was the first year in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. First year in 6 years that he didn't bat .300. He only batted .287. His strikeout numbers were up. His walks were down. So, there's rumors he wants to go back to New York. Do you think the Yankees, first off, would be interested? Second off, do you think they would pull the trigger on Robbie Cano?
Well, that's a tough one, because obviously he played very well when he was with New York, and New York loved him. He won a baseball. He won the whole run derby the 1 year. But then his departure was kind of really public and kind of ugly. So I don't know if they would be willing to take him back. But that being said, their second base play has not been nowhere near as consistent as it was when Robbie was there. So if they did take him back, I believe they'd probably have to sit down with him and say, listen, here's the deal. Like, we'll take you back, but don't be a jerk. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I understand. And just to let you know, just to update you, he is signed through 2023. His 10-year, $240 million contract. I'm trying to get the details on it right now. My computer's not cooperating. Okay, here we go. So next year he is owed. Next year is 2016. So he's owed $24 million until he's 40 through the end of the 2023 season. So a very big contract. If the Yankees want to pick it up, I mean, yeah, if the Yankees want to pick it up, I'm sure they could make it work. But that's disastrous if that doesn't work out for the Mariners and they can't get rid of him.
Yeah, so that's a big contract to take responsibility for it. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. There's not very many teams that want to pick up a contract of that size. And the Yankees are already paying tons of dudes lots of money. So I don't know. If you pick up a contract like that, it makes it difficult to, pick up other young players because you don't have the cap room at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but as we always say, if there's anybody that can do a deal like this, or we just said it, but we always say with the Yankees, if there's anyone that can afford to burn barrels of money, it is the New York Yankees. So maybe
that's a true story.
Maybe they bite the bullet and just say, the positives outweigh the negatives. The great second base play that we're going to get, the good bat in the lineup outweighs the fact that we have to pay him $24 million. Plus, I mean, if maybe the Yankees throw some good prospects in and Seattle pays half of it or a quarter of it or something like that. So you never know. I mean, crazier trades have happened in baseball. We've seen it before, but at this point, I would wrap it up to just speculation and then go from there. But I mean, it would make total sense if the New York Yankees picked him back up.
Well, I mean, why not? Got a good young player, and he's not going to hurt you by any means when it comes to play. So it might be something that they pull the trigger on.
Take a look into it. Certainly consider it for sure. So, looking now on the National Football League. Let me get my phone opened up to the news I want to talk about this week. First off, the San Francisco 49ers place quarterback Colin Kaepernick on the IR with, quote, extensive damage to his non-throwing shoulder labrum. He has had it fixed, and a lot of people are expecting that he has played his last game as a 49er. Are you surprised by that at all, Lewis?
A little, simply because Colin Kaepernick's still a good quarterback. He's got a cannon of an arm. He's mobile. He's a good quarterback. The problem with the San Francisco 49ers, as we've discussed, they lost so many pieces this year. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's interesting that they're going to get rid of him so quick or give up on him so quick. But at the same token, there are places around the league that have decided to pick Colin Kaepernick up. He would probably fit in real well. I think if you put someone like Colin Kaepernick in Chip Kelly's offense, the Eagles, that would be a scary team.
I agree. I just think that at this point, the amount of money they owe him certainly outweighs what he brings back for that team because the expectations are ridiculous. The length of the contract he still has is ridiculous. And at this point, a divorce may make the most sense for both sides. I certainly think that he can still exist in San Francisco. But again, like I said, the amount of money he owed, the expectations. I mean, it's crazy to me that he's 2 years removed from a Super Bowl appearance and a 12-4 record, but now he's not necessarily getting kicked out of town, but it's damn near close. I mean,
right.
With the changes, I feel like Colin Kaepernick was a perfect quarterback for Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh had a wonderful defense, took a lot of pressure off the offense, and then you have an offense now. I don't necessarily think Tyrod Taylor is going to get kicked out of town in Buffalo, but I would certainly expect if Colin Kaepernick becomes a free agent that maybe the Buffalo Bills do their due diligence. I know Colin Kaepernick has had some issues in the past with teammates and stuff like that, but I'm not necessarily buying into that. Like, if Greg Roman says this guy is the perfect quarterback for my offense, for this team, I'm down. I'm buying it.
Right.
Because we've already seen what Colin Kaepernick can do with a team that has a strong defense and a team that has offensive weapons. I mean,
right.
They had Frank Gore, Anquan Bolden, Vernon Davis. I mean, they had a great offensive line. I'm not saying that the Bills have Frank Gore, Vernon Davis, great offensive line, Anquan Bolden, but they have great players in their own right. And maybe a Colin Kaepernick will push them to the next level. I'm not sure yet, but you have to leave all your options open, because if it's not working now, if you're not playing the way you think you can play now, gotta try to find a way to make it better. Even if they make the playoffs, do your due diligence.
Yeah, I agree, but I'd like to see the Bills develop Tyrod a little more. He's an exciting player. I like Tyrod Taylor.
Me too. Don't get me wrong.
And I don't even like the Bills, but I like Tyrod Taylor.
I'm a big fan of Tyrod Taylor. I like what he's done. I like how he's developed in this offense. But like I said, if there's a potential to make your team better, maybe Colin Kaepernick isn't better than Tyrod Taylor for this offense. I don't know. But again, like I said, do your due diligence. If it happens, I mean, you have the guy who knows him best, Greg Roman.
True.
Now, moving over to some injury news this week, Baltimore, the Ravens have lost not only Justin Forsett to a broken arm, a nasty play in the backfield where he was thrown onto the football he was carrying, and his forearm snapped. But the Baltimore Ravens lose quarterback Joe Flacco to a torn ACL. Now, this is very big news for Baltimore, not only this year, but next year, because you have to remember that ACLs can be 6 to 8 months or longer. And then they always say that you're not back to normal for, usually until a year after surgery. So, I mean, it's November now. If Flacco gets surgery in November, that's December, January, February, March, April, May. Maybe he's cleared for activities in May, but there's a strong possibility, or is it 6 to 8 or 8 to 12? I can't remember. Either way, Joe Flacco, I'm pretty sure it's 8 to 12. 6 to 8, I don't know why I'm thinking 6 to 8. But there's a strong possibility that the Ravens have to go out in free agency or in a trade and go pick up a quarterback to hold them over until Flacco can return and be Joe Flacco again, because I mean, right now it's looking bleak for the future. And I mean, there's been rumors of, like we said, Coach Harbaugh looking to leave, John Harbaugh looking to potentially go back to college. I mean, at this point, does he say, hey, my quarterback blew his knee out, my running back has a broken injuries heal. Most injuries heal, I should say.
Right.
But with the way the defense is, the way the team has been this year, is it time to peace out?
They definitely need to shore up their defense. But yeah, I mean, they're obviously going to have to shop for a QB. But here's how tough Flacco is. He tears his ACL, and then he finishes the game.
That's a lot of grit right there.
Dude, finish the game on a torn ACL. How many players would do that?
I don't know, man. I don't know, because I don't know if it was like an adrenaline thing, or if it was, it doesn't hurt too bad, or hey, I might have tweaked my knee. But that's ballsy right there for Joe Flacco, for sure.
Because especially since you run the risk of damaging it even more.
That's true. That's very true.
But that's a tough tool right there. I've always liked Joe Flacco.
I always call him Bert because he used to have a real bad unibrow.
Yeah, he does.
He did. Not anymore. He took care of it.
Well, he had to. I'm sure people were mocking him.
I mean, do your thing, man. I have a mustache
But now
right
the
now.
question is,
we all make bad choices in our life.
The question is, does he shave it or did he get it lasered?
Probably lasered. I mean, he's a multimillionaire,
That's true.
Speaking of broken quarterbacks, Lewis. Speaking of broken quarterbacks, before we start talking about eyebrows and eyebrow hair removal, because I know we'll fall down that rabbit hole. Pro Football Talks Mike Florio says Peyton Manning wants to play next year, even if not with the Denver Broncos. Are you buying or selling that?
I'm selling. I'm not buying. It's time for him to wrap it up. It's time for him to call it a career. And I can't see very many teams interested in almost 40-year-old Peyton Manning, who's got no zip on the ball anymore, who can't really throw it down the field on a consistent basis, who's got all types of issues. He can't feel his fingertips. He's got neck issues. He's got issues with his plantar fasciitis. I mean, just hang it up, Peyton. I get it. You love playing the game, and you were one of the best when you did play the game. But now it's time to jump on a horse and ride into the sunset and be known as one of the greatest to ever do it.
I'm on board with that one. I'm totally selling this. I mean, Mike Florio is usually spot on with his reporting, but I most likely think it's Peyton potentially putting a feeler out there, saying, "Hey, I want to play. Is anybody interested? Maybe." And then, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's the end of a brilliant career. But I think at this point, if Peyton comes back, it's all about personal statistics. It's not about winning. It's not about losing. It's about what records can I set? Because I feel like with Peyton Manning, he's already reached the point where the window's already closed for Peyton Manning, I think. I mean, this year they have a good shot, but if Brock Osweiler's the quarterback, I'm not buying the Broncos in the playoffs. No way.
No.
No how.
Although he didn't look horrible on Sunday, though. He didn't look bad. He won that game, and I was surprised.
Yeah, he looked real good. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But he did look good. He did look good against the Bears. I mean, it is the Bears. They have been playing better, but it'll be interesting to see how he responds. I mean, because if he plays good enough, there's no reason to put Peyton Manning back on the field.
Right. See, now, here's why I think Peyton wants to come back. Ryan, what's the biggest knock on Peyton Manning?
He's only won one Super Bowl.
He can't win the big one. He had the same rep as Tony Romo had forever. He'd get to the playoffs, and he'd lose. He's won one Super Bowl. I almost said World Series. Completely different sport. He's won one Super Bowl, and he hasn't been able to win another. And like I said before, we've had this discussion. If you look at the college championship he won, he threw like 3 or 4 interceptions in that game. His defense won him that game. And that's really what the Broncos have been relying on this year is their defense. They have a disgusting defense.
Oh yeah, they do. I mean, it's one of the best, if not the best, in the league, and that's why it might make more sense to have a guy like Brock Osweiler in who is healthy, who can sling the ball, and you can let your defense carry you. I mean, that's the same thing they did with John Elway. They had a lot of offensive weapons, but they had a defense that could carry them and that could take care of things. Now, I want to mention.
Go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead because I was going to change the subject.
Okay, I was going to say a healthy Peyton Manning in his heyday is one of the most dangerous quarterbacks walking, and I would take him over his brother any day. I
would still take Tom Brady over both of them.
And I don't think Peyton likes the fact that little brother Eli's got one more ring than he does. But
Peyton,
Eli doesn't show in the big game.
Sorry, like we said, sorry to almost cut you off there, but like we said, Peyton is statistically the greatest regular season quarterback ever, and one of the greats that we'll ever see. I feel like when it's all said and done, it'll be Tom Brady, Peyton Manning 1-2, mostly because Tom Brady has more Super Bowl rings and more Super Bowl appearances, and has just been able to successfully win over a long period of time, where Peyton Manning has been able to rack up the regular season statistics. I guess with that conversation, and we'll have this conversation sometime in the future when it does approach, but that conversation to me seems like, what do you value more? If you value regular season statistics and most touchdown passes in a career, most passing yards in a career, most quarterback wins. Well, I mean, he doesn't have most quarterback wins, but stuff like that. If you have, I think he does have the most quarterback wins. I can't remember. I'm sorry. Either way. Do you value that over he won 4 Super Bowl rings or 5 Super Bowl rings or 6 Super Bowl rings, or he was in X amount of Super Bowls. It all depends how you value greatness. Because a lot of people say Peyton's the greatest because of all his statistics, but a lot of people say Brady's the greatest because he's won championships. And I'm more leaning towards the Brady with, yeah, you may have been good during the regular season, but what happens when you get to the playoffs when it matters the most? You choke. You don't do great. So you look at Brady, who's won a lot of championships. It pains me to say this, but Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, in my opinion, solely because of all the championships he has and all the championships he's been to and how successful the team has been for how long they've been around. And if you want to tell me Tom Brady's a cheater, I'll laugh in your face, because look at if he's a cheater, apparently he's really goddamn good at cheating.
You know what? Listen, I'm going to make a confession to you right now, and I hope you're sitting down.
I'm sitting down.
It's a shocking confession. I was talking with my wife yesterday, and we were talking football, which my wife doesn't do very often, but she's listened to me enough to where she can actually hold a really good conversation. And I came to a startling realization. You've heard me say time and time again that I can't stand Tom Brady and I can't stand the New England Patriots, right?
Correct.
Well, that switched. I now like Tom Brady, and I like the New England Patriots.
What happened?
And here's why. Yes, they had the whole video gate thing where they videotaped other teams. We get that. That was wrong. But they're accused of cheating all the time now. And with the whole Deflategate thing, Tom Brady didn't know about it. There's no definitive evidence saying that it happened. And the Patriots are accused of cheating all the time. When they were switching players in and out, making players eligible receivers, that the other teams were like, they're not eligible receivers, but it was within the rules. Bill Belichick knows the rules. He's a master of that. And other teams can't stand it. And so I'm tired of hearing of these guys being labeled cheaters when they're playing within the rules and they're beating you, playing within the rules, and you can't adjust to beat them. So all the haters, literally made my mental switch on them. I love that. I don't love them yet. I'll never switch my favorite team, but I love the fact that they've been able to win how they've been winning, and they're changing rules and stuff because of these guys and how masterfully they play the game.
It's one of those. You can continue.
I'm sorry. When you play the game that masterfully, that they're changing rules because of you, when you've been within the rules the entire time, then you're just phenomenal.
It's one of those things where something happens once and everyone just goes to it and continues to harp on it. Now, I'm going to sound hypocritical because I do that with Alex Rodriguez a lot, where Alex Rodriguez admitted to steroid use and then failed then admitted again that he still used steroids, and then was busted in. He's never failed a drug test, but he's been implicated in multiple steroid things. We all know the story. But with the Patriots, it's one of those things where they got busted, paid the price, paid the fines, the draft picks, all that stuff, and moved on. And nothing has happened ever since then in terms of videotaping. The Deflategate thing was completely overblown because it looked like it was a gotcha question, essentially, and they had no proof. They couldn't prove it. The Colts thought they had something, and there was nothing there. So then everybody, instead of gathering the facts, everybody runs back to saying the Patriots are cheaters. So if you want to be in that crowd of saying the Patriots are cheaters, you can be essentially the best way to explain it is like politics, where instead of doing your due diligence, you just watch CNN or Fox News and they say, "Ain't this man because he's a racist?" And everyone's like, "Yeah, that guy's a racist," but you don't do your due diligence. Like about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, Hillary Clinton, and I'm not, and let me preface this, Lewis. I'm just using this as an example. We're not going to have a conversation on it because we'll get lost and we'll have like a 4-hour podcast. Bernie Sanders said something to Hillary Clinton, and the way he said it, Hillary Clinton turned it on him and tried to turn him into hating women. So naturally, everyone went, oh, Bernie Sanders hates women. So if you want to be like the fans that say the Patriots are a cheater, you can be like the people who say, oh, Bernie Sanders hates women. But if you go do your research and realize Bernie Sanders is as much of a feminist, if not more of a feminist than Hillary Clinton is. So, like you said, Lewis, if you're going to be really, it's the point now where the Patriots are so goddamn good at knowing the rules and playing the game of football that they get inside your head, they make you mad, and they're changing the game of football because of it.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
The rule where the Patriots had the ineligible guy over, the ineligible receiver, that wasn't illegal until the Ravens complained about it.
Right.
That was totally legal. It's just Bill Belichick knew the rules, and he used them to his advantage.
Yeah, and like I said, like it's literally switched how I feel about them in my head. I've gone from despising them to liking them as a team, which I'm sure your brother will be happy about.
I don't like Tom Brady. Well, if he ever listened to the podcast, he would know, but he never listens to the podcast, so it doesn't matter. You're fine. Your secret's safe with me.
It's like I even like Tom Brady now. I mean, he is.
I don't hate Tom Brady. I just envy Tom Brady because I wish my team had Tom Brady.
Well, I understand.
Like your favorite team, you've had a quarterback for a long time who's been a very good quarterback, one of the best in the league. So, I mean, you may or may not get it from you, but for me, who's had the likes of Rob Johnson, E.J. Manuel, J.P. Lossman, Trent Edwards, guys like that, you know, you go, it'd be nice to hit on a guy like Tom Brady every once in a while and to have a great quarterback. But
right.
If we continue down that path, I'm just going to start hysterically sobbing, and we'll have to end the podcast. So we're just not going to do that. Talking real quick about the New York Jets, they cut outside linebacker Quentin Coples, who is now considered a bust. I mean, it is what it is. 2012 first-round draft pick. He has 16.5 sacks in 56 games. I'll be intrigued to see if Rex Ryan picks him up to try to fit him in the Bills' defense. He knows a lot about him, so we'll see how that one works out. Now, going back to quarterbacks, I wanted to get the Quentin Coples thing out before we moved on to more pressing matters. We got some quarterback discussion to go on before we talk about Week 11. First off, Johnny Manziel may have played his last game in Cleveland. The word came out on Tuesday, today, the 24th, that the Browns have benched Johnny Manziel after video surfaces of him out drinking. He'll be the third quarterback this week, potentially for the remainder of the season. And like I said, it looks like he is going to be done in Cleveland. Do you feel, Lewis, now he had some drinking problems, self-admitted, went to rehab, all that stuff, became better because of it, apparently. But do you feel like the Browns organization is being too hard on Johnny Manziel, or do you believe this is fair, what they're doing to him?
Oh, man. I think that, I don't know. I mean, you've given this guy multiple chances, you know, and he went to rehab, and now I'd be curious, okay, he was out drinking, but was he out drunk? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If he was just out having a couple beers with the guys and not being stupid, then whoop-de-doo. Everyone does that. But if he, you know, if the situation has led to another situation where all of a sudden his name was all over the news again, well, then maybe you should look at possibly benching him and going in another direction. But if it was just a little, you know, out with best friends, having a couple brewskis, not causing any trouble, then I think you should give the guy another chance.
It's fascinating to me that with the whole domestic dispute Johnny Manziel had, they didn't bench him, but now that he's out drinking, they're like, hey, we're going to take you off the field. But I feel like in terms of the drinking and the partying, I feel like the Browns organization has been way too tough on him. I understand they hold him to a higher regard because he is essentially the face of the franchise and all that stuff. But, you know, if Johnny Manziel gets cut, Johnny Manziel will end up somewhere else, and it'll probably be Dallas. That's just my hot take guess of the day. But if Manziel gets cut, he'll land on his feet somewhere else and get another opportunity. I mean, I don't think he's a bad football player. I don't think he's a great football player, but talent will get you second chances, and if the Browns want to give up on him, like I said, someone will take a shot. And at some point in time, heads are going to roll in Cleveland again because they've failed in that draft so hard. I feel like they've mishandled Johnny Manziel a lot. I don't know if it's their fault or if it's Manziel's fault, but there's probably a lot that could have been done better throughout the whole process of making him the starting quarterback. So we'll see how that one works out. I mean, I'm not here nor there. I mean, it is what it is with Manziel. He's had a couple shots with the Browns, and like I said, maybe they're being too hard. Maybe he's being too stupid. Either way, he'll get another shot in the NFL, whether it's Cleveland or whether it's another team. So we'll talk more as we get there. But
we all noticed Jerry Jones allegedly told Johnny that he wanted him on his team.
Yeah. And it'd be a great situation for Johnny Manziel to sit behind Tony Romo for a couple of years. I mean, he'll be 4 or 5 years into his career at that point. But maybe going to a team like the Cowboys and who have had a penchant for having terrible people on their football team, they seem to enjoy that. Maybe Johnny Manziel will fit in just fine.
Maybe.
But speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, you set me up very well, Lewis, inadvertently. I appreciate that. Tony Romo. Problem. And this will work into our Week 11 talk too. Tony Romo comes back from injury from a broken collarbone, and the Cowboys defeat Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That wasn't Tampa Bay. No, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Why did I say Tampa Bay? Miami. Yeah, they defeated Miami. What am I doing? I was in the state at least. I don't know. I looked at my paper. I saw Tampa, and I said Tampa. I apologize. They beat the Miami Dolphins. Now that moves Dallas to 3-7 in a weak division where the division leader is at 5-5. But here's the thing. A 2-7 team has never made the playoffs. Is it too early to jump back on the bandwagon and start buying into the Cowboys? Or do you think the Cowboys can pull off the improbable comeback and make the playoffs with Romo under center? Excuse me.
If the Cowboys win on Thursday, if the Cowboys beat the Panthers on Thursday, I don't see why they can't win out. And with the rest of that particular division playing the way they are, I think it's a real possibility that they can make the playoffs. Now, with that being said, I am a realist. It's very improbable. But I think with that division, it's not impossible. Because let's be honest, no one thought the Eagles were going to get blown out by the Buccaneers like they did. And if that division keeps playing like that, then they have a shot to come back and make the playoffs.
The intrigue certainly is there with how bad the division is played, but I don't think the Cowboys can finish the improbable comeback. I feel like they may come up a little short because they're going to need a lot of help. I mean, yeah, that you have to win all your games to maybe finish, 8-8, 9-7. But I mean, there's a little breathing room. But then again, you have to figure, you're going to need, like I said, you're going to need a lot of help. I mean, maybe you can make it. Maybe you can squeeze in. I know the Falcons have been struggling as of late. They've fallen to 6-4 in the season after starting off red hot. And the Giants, like we said, are at 5-5. So maybe the Falcons can lose a couple more games and Dallas can sneak in as a wild card if they can't win the division. But it's going to be very tough.
I agree. I'm just saying that it's not out of the realm of possibility with the way.
No, it's possible. They're only 2 games back in the division with 6 weeks left in the season. So
right.
See how that one works out. Like I always say, we'll keep an eye on it for sure. Looking at Week 11, Lewis, you went 7-7. John and I went 8-6. That brings the season totals to. I'm leading. Sorry, had to turn my page here. I'm leading at 97-63. Lewis, you are 96-64, and John is slowly but surely catching up at 86-72. Now, looking at Week 11, John and I have Carolina defeating Dallas. Lewis, you have Dallas.
You mean Week 12?
Did I say 11?
You did.
Amateur hour over here. Week 12. Yes, thank you. Looking at Week 12, John and I have Carolina. Lewis, you have Dallas.
I could have picked against my team with Romo being back.
It's okay. It's understandable. It's a must-win for them. So I mean, I can see it. I'll buy in a little more if they beat the Panthers, but I think the Panthers are just too good. New Orleans, you and I, Lewis, have New Orleans over Houston. John has Houston. You, Lewis, and John have Kansas City. I have Buffalo. Now, here's the thing about the Bills. I'm not being biased here, so keep your snickering to yourself. The Buffalo Bills, I feel, are a playoff team. That's why I'm picking them this week. Because if they want to make the playoffs, they have to beat Kansas City. Now, no one thought they would lose to Jacksonville. They would have been a little better position if they had beaten Jacksonville. They'd been 6-4 instead of 5-5 going into a game with the 5-5 Chiefs. They also would have held the last wild card spot. But if the Bills beat the Chiefs this week, it sets themselves up very well for the wild card position moving further into the season. If they lose this week, you can probably start to kiss the playoffs goodbye. But if you're going to make the playoffs, you have to beat the Chiefs because you have to beat teams that are better than you to take their position. Now, Tyrod Taylor apparently has an AC joint sprain. It looked like a lot of people were saying he should be okay to play, but it may be a little painful. It may cut down on some of his passing a little, but I'm buying. Like I said, I'm picking the Bills this week. If they don't win, it's pretty much curtains for the season. Lewis, you and I have the Jets over the Dolphins. John has the Dolphins over the Jets. John and I have Seattle, and you have Pittsburgh. Lewis, is there any reason why you have that?
Ben Roethlisberger.
Even on the road in Seattle?
Yes.
Okay, I'm of the thought process that you travel cross country, you usually don't win.
No, I agree with you there, but he came off the bench last week, or 2 weeks ago, because they were on the bye this week. He was obviously healthy enough to play, and he had a monster game. And I think that with another week's worth of rest, he's going to wear that defense out, and Pittsburgh's going to get the W.
That's fair. As long as you have a good reason, I'm down with that. And last but not least, because I forgot to put it in the list higher, John and I have Indianapolis, and Lewis, you have Tampa Bay. So I'm assuming you're picking high in Tampa after their big win over the Eagles.
I am, and the Colts are beat up.
They've been playing decent. They played decent last week, decent enough to win the game.
Yeah, that was surprising to me.
Well, anytime Matt Hasselbeck wins a game, I mean, it's surprising at this point.
Yeah. So if Tampa Bay comes out and looks like they did against the Eagles, then they get the win.
That's fair. Now, looking at the playoff picture, last week, and this is directly to John Cimino of Get Ready America. He asked me on my Facebook, on a thing I posted, or he posted on my wall and said, "Are you still high in the Vikings?" And I said, "Listen to the podcast. I'll address it," and I'm about to address it. The Vikings lost to the Green Bay Packers, so now they're both 7-3, but the Packers obviously have the division lead with the tiebreaker now.
I have a theory about that, by the way.
I'm still very high in the Vikings because their defense is still fantastic. Their offense is still very good. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers is the man. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The Packers are still the Packers. I mean, if the Vikings get in the playoffs, they're going to be very hard to beat. I mean, right now in the NFC, you've got the Panthers at 10-0 as the 1 seed. Arizona's 8-2 at the 2 seed. Your first wild card game would be the Falcons 6-4 as the 6 seed against the Packers 7-3 as the 3 seed. And then the second game is the Vikings at 7-3 as the 5 seed taking on the 5-5 Giants as the 4 seed. So you're telling me right now that if the Vikings take on the Giants in the Meadowlands in January, that they can't win? Please.
No, they can win.
I'm still very high on the Vikings. And if the Vikings win, they go take on the 2 seed unless the Falcons would beat the Packers, but I don't think that'll happen. And I'm sure that'll change here because it's very interesting to see with the Falcons struggling. It looked like for a while that the wild card berths were wrapped up. But at this point, I mean, Tampa Bay at 5-5 is the 7th seed. You have Seattle Seahawks at 5-5 is the 8th seed. If the Falcons lose this week, which again I predicted them to lose to the Vikings, they'll be 6-5. If the Seahawks win, they'll be 6-5. If the Buccaneers win, they'll be 6-5. So the bottom has fallen out in the season for the Falcons. They have a chance to tie it up and bring things to the playoffs and kind of stumble in. But that's like with the Seahawks, for instance. I'm not high on them this season, but if they can sneak in the playoffs, watch out. But please, before we move on to the AFC, what is your theory on the Vikings and Packers?
Well, no, I got a theory on the Packers.
Okay.
So, as we were discussing, the Packers went on that little 3-game losing streak. That's when Mike Ditka was wearing that Packer sweater. On Sunday, McDonald's debuted some 2 commercials where Mike Ditka took off that Packer sweater, and the curse was lifted, and the Packers won.
That's fair enough. That's all I need to know. That sometimes things like that, the Earth is knocked out of its axis, rotational axis or something. If things aren't right, Mike Ditka in Packers gear, not right. Now he's back in Bears gear. All is right with the world. Maybe that's what happens. We'll find out. But that's a pretty good.
Jerry Rice took off the Cowboys jersey, put the San Francisco jersey back on. But that's
solid. Solid, man. Solid reasoning.
The Cowboys, though, they need Romo back. They just, And here's the thing, though. Before we go to the AFC, like you want to talk about real quick, I just want to say this. It's amazing to me that there are teams out there that just have QBs that are backing up their main QBs that just are garbage. You just can't find reliable help.
That just shows you. I don't think it's so much the lack of help as it just shows you the talent gap between starting quarterbacks and backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
In the AFC right now, the Patriots 10-0 with the 1 seed. The Bengals on a 2-game skid, 8-2 are the 2 seed. Looking at the first wild card game, the 3-seeded Broncos at 8-2 would take on the 6-seed 5-5 Chiefs. And the other game, the 4-seed Colts at 5-5 would take on the 6-4 Steelers, who are the 5 seed. Interesting thing about the AFC right now is that the wild card spots are fluid. I mean, the Steelers have an upper hand at 6-4, but you have the Texans at 5-5, the Bills at 5-5, the Jets at 5-5, the Raiders at 4-6, the Jaguars at 4-6, the Dolphins at 4-6. So, while the Dolphins and the Jaguars may be out of it, maybe even the Raiders too, if you have 3 teams spot, that's a lot of fun. Not to mention, you see the Colts at 5-5, the Jaguars at 4-6. That may even switch as well. So there's a whole lot of fluidity going on in really both wildcard races at this point in time, and things can still change. I mean, the only thing we really know at this point is that New England, Cincinnati, Carolina, Arizona, Denver, and maybe the Packers are guaranteed to be in the playoffs. I mean, the Packers and Vikings probably are going to make the playoffs, but I think everybody we mentioned before are locks to make the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, right now in the AFC East, Patriots have a 5-game lead and the tiebreaker over the second-place Bills. They're only 6 weeks of football left.
We know the Patriots are making the playoffs.
Absolutely. I'm getting really cold. I'm going to put my sweater on. If you just give me a second, I have to unplug my headphone. So hold on just a second. I'll keep talking, but I can't hear anything that you're saying. And now I am back, and I'm warm. I'm warm too. So that's been the podcast. A lot of sports talk, a lot of football talk. Now we've transitioned to the after show. Take a seat over in the corner, have a drink, smoke a cigar, enjoy the BLTD after show, or something. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that one. But
I am smoking a cigar. Thank you very much.
You're already ahead of the game, man. I'm just freezing my ass off. That's all I'm doing. And I'm about to go make some food once. I got to throw my laundry in the dryer, throw more laundry in the wash, because apparently I had a lot of clothes I wore this week. But I'm going to go make some food. I bought some mashed potatoes. I've got some chicken and some rice and some mashed potatoes. That sounds really good. And some orange juice, too. I bought a 2-liter gallon of orange, or 2-liter gallon. What the hell? I always say that. 2-liter gallon. I'm a moron. 2-liter jug of orange juice. Like I said before, I know I've said this before in a podcast, the 2-liter jug of Wegmans orange juice with the blue top is delicious.
So I'm on the thruway.
Okay.
And I'm pulling up on a semi-truck that's got a wide load on it right now. It's got some huge vehicle on it, on the flatbed behind the semi. But there's something underneath the semi that's throwing up all types of sparks.
Really?
Yeah, it's really weird. So I'm going to zoom past him real quick.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, not even a little bit.
Wow, that's a lot of fun. I want to point out for those music fans out there, the Foo Fighters released a 5-song EP yesterday, and boy, is it fantastic. Was it yesterday? It was yesterday, yeah. It was yesterday morning, I believe.
I've heard it's really good.
It's called Saint Cecilia. It was written in Texas. They recorded it in Texas a couple months ago. That's the one thing I love about the Foo Fighters is that they said we've been on an incredible run with Sonic Highways for a couple of years now. Done a lot of touring. It sounds like they're going to take a break for a little while, but we know how the Foo Fighters work. Last time the Foo Fighters were on a break, they did Wasting Light, did a bunch of touring. Then Dave Grohl went and made the award-winning Sound City documentary and soundtrack, and then came back and did Sonic Highways, which also award-winning documentary and album. I'm intrigued to see what the Foo Fighters do next, but if this is the direction they're going in, with kind of an older Foo Fighter feel, sign me up. I mean, it sounded fantastic, and the one thing that I absolutely love about the Foo Fighters and why they've become one of my favorite bands is while it's cool to see some bands sometimes experiment a little and change the music up. Like sometimes rock bands will play country music, country style music, or they may play a little heavier, like metal-y kind of music,
right?
Metal-ish kind of music. But with the Foo Fighters, you know what you're getting, and they stay true to the Foo Fighters sound. And to this point, I've yet to be disappointed by the Foo Fighters.
I have not listened to it yet. Like I knew it came out, but yesterday when I was driving in between the cities I had to go to, I had not listened to Dr. Dre's last album, Compton, yet. So I decided to give that a listen. And if you're a fan of rap, you need to listen to that album.
I'll check it out.
The production quality on that album is absolutely disgusting.
Speaking of sorry.
Well, just want to say it's one of the best produced albums I've ever heard.
I'll check it out tonight. I'm going to actually, after the podcast, I'll go take a listen. But I was going to say, speaking of Dr. Dre, because you may be interested in this, Lewis, Straight Outta Compton comes out on DVD, I believe, the first week of January or January 9th, so the second week. I believe that's the date. But they're also going to release not only the score for the movie on CD, but they've remastered a bunch of NWA songs and Dr. Dre songs, and they're making kind of like a pinnacle Straight Outta Compton soundtrack, like music. This was the music that made the movie, that made the guys in the band, stuff like that. So you might be interested in that. I'm certainly going to check it out.
No, that would definitely be something that I would buy.
Oh yeah, I'll shoot you. I'll pop up the link on my phone right now, and I'll shoot you the link. But yeah, that's I like stuff like that. Like it's and not to mention, I mean, fans love it, but you want to know why the musicians love it? Because it's going to make a crap ton of money.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
For music that's been out forever.
And they're saying that this is going to be the last album by Dre. With how well that album was produced, I hope not. I hope he releases more. I hope he actually finally does release Detox 2 like he was supposed to. But, yeah, dude, that album was incredible.
I'm just reading right now. I'm actually on the January 18th, 2016. It's going to have NWA, Parliament, Eazy-E, Funkadelic, Roy Ayers, Ubiquity, NWA, Steve Arrington's Hall of Fame, Ice Cube, and Dr. Dre featuring Snoop Dogg.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely going to buy that.
And it's all remastered. So that's going to be real good. I want to
that TV anyway. That movie was incredible.
Oh God, I can't wait for it to come out. I'm gonna go purchase that because the extended version has, I think, like 20 more minutes of a film plus some deleted scenes and some commentary and stuff.
Nice.
But I want to, speaking of movies, I want to point out I did finally get to watch Jurassic World this weekend, and I don't recall ever watching Jurassic Park fully, but I was so confused by what the hell was going on in Jurassic World because they're supposed to be making more movies, but I don't know what they're going to make the movies based on. The story was really weak and weird because and sorry if this is a spoiler for anyone who hasn't watched, you can just turn off the podcast or mute it for a few minutes. I don't get what the chick was doing. The lady, one of the main characters, had her nephews in Jurassic World, and she was like, "I hate kids. I don't want to hang out with them." And then like the dinosaur was gonna eat them, and she's like, "Oh, I love you now so much. Don't get eaten by this crazy dinosaur that we created." And then I mean, Chris Pratt. I like Chris Pratt, so Chris Pratt was awesome. I enjoyed that, but I just don't really know where they were going with it and where they're gonna go with it. But I know for sure, whichever movie they decide to make, it's going to make a boatload of money.
Yeah, it probably will. See, the problem with the Jurassic World franchise is when the original Jurassic Park came out, it was pretty awesome. You had giant dinosaurs running around just killing people. Like, that, I could get on board with that. And then, like, 2 and 3, it was like, the same type thing. But then with this one, with Jurassic World, once again, you can only do so much with it. So they rehabbed the park. The park was doing really, really well. But once again, you have someone that wants to, quote-unquote, play with Mother Nature and splice some DNA together. They create a creature that they can't control, and then everyone runs amok. So,
and the thing that cracks me up too is it's not even believable because you have to figure scientists are pretty damn smart. Which scientist anywhere in the world would be like, hey, let's create a super monster dinosaur that no one can control because it's crazy and has every bad trait you can possibly think of. Let's do that. That sounds like a great idea. Nobody would do that.
No, but I did like the concept of a raptor that was basically the size of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Like, that was kind of cool.
I mean, the ending was interesting. It got very dark and very violent very quickly. But like, what's going to happen next? Is that giant dinosaur shark going to rule the world or something? Like President Crazy Dinosaur Shark guy? I don't know. Like, who knows what they're going to do? I don't know. It really made me mad. But I want to sometime soon. I think maybe this weekend. I want to watch Dope. I heard that was really good. I'm going to go see Dope.
I'm not familiar with it.
Check it out. I heard it's really well. I might actually just watch it tonight. But
who's in it?
I don't even know. It's let me just I'll get it popped up and I'll explain it to you. But what I want to say is I went and saw The Night Before over the weekend. And
what'd you think?
Dude, oh my God. First off, it was an amazing movie because it did everything. It was everything I wanted it to be, and then some. But Seth Rogen absolutely stole the movie. Like, he was phenomenal.
Was he?
Hilarious, crazy, wonderful, just everything. Like I said, everything you want the movie to be, it is, and then some. So it's just amazing, absolutely amazing. And there's actually a story they tell, and there's a build up, a climax, a conclusion. It's not just a dumb movie where there's three idiots on screen. There's actually a great story, and it's just I look forward to seeing it again.
I have considered going to check it out.
I think you should.
I will probably wait till that work goes to the Dollar Theater.
So, Dope is a movie, an American crime comedy drama film, and it stars a bunch of young kids, younger actors. I'm gonna send you. I'll send you the trailer because it just looks really good, and I don't want to read the plot because then I'll spoil it for myself. But from what I saw, and what I read too, is that it was a fantastic movie.
I'll have to look it up.
It also has Zoe Kravitz in it, which is Lenny Kravitz's daughter.
All right.
Let me just get this. I'm just trying
I'll have to look it up.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about this week? I think we've hit a bunch of different things.
Hey man, I'm good if you're good.
All right. Well, I guess I will start the thank yous. Thank you everyone for tuning into the podcast this week, episode number 69, the nicest podcast we've done so far. I'm Ryan Wolf at Wolf BLTD on Twitter. On the phone is Louis, Mr. Perez at MRLG Perez on all of these social media platforms.
Yes.
I want to say thank you to John and Dawn, executive producers of the Better Live Than Dead podcast. Thanks for letting us have this podcast each and every single week. Thank you to each and every single one of you for tuning in. I want to say thank you for your continued support over at BLTDsports.com. BLTD Sports has been wonderful, a lot of fun, learning a lot of stuff, making a lot of things happen. I mean, just enjoying the process as we build up a website from complete scratch. So, again, thank you so much for continuing to tune in to read the stories and keep it going, because like I said, we're having a lot of fun with it. I know I'm getting stumbled on my words here, but we're just having a lot of fun. We're enjoying bringing sports to you, and like with the podcast, we talk about sports, we write about sports. It's been wonderful. It's been excellent. Thank you so much. Check us out, facebook.com/ I believe it is BLTD Podcast, and then Twitter is twitter.com / BLTD Sports at BLTD Sports if you're looking that way. But with that being said, Louis, we are Better Live Than Dead.
You're not.
We'll talk to you next week, next Tuesday, sometime. But the same time, the same place. BLTDsports.com, GearNetwork.com, or wherever you may be listening to the podcast. Thank you again, friends. We'll talk to you next week. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Have a happy Thanksgiving. And thank you again for tuning in. We'll see you.
Peace.
Bye.